In a world where attention is constantly being pulled in fragments, there are people who feel something is off. Not overwhelmed in an obvious way, not necessarily distracted, but subtly disconnected. While others scroll effortlessly through endless short videos, these individuals pause, lose interest, or even feel a quiet resistance. And that reaction is often misunderstood. It's seen as being outdated, less adaptable, or simply not into it. But psychologically, it usually points to something else entirely, a different relationship with attention, stimulation, and how the mind prefers to engage with reality. There's a certain kind of person who doesn't feel drawn to rapid, bite-sized content. They might try it, even understand why it's appealing, but it doesn't hold them for long. The constant switching, the compressed storytelling, the quick emotional spikes, it feels shallow or mentally scattered. While others experience it as entertaining, they experience it as fragmented. And that difference reveals something deeper about how their brain processes information and meaning. At its core, not liking short-form videos is closely tied to how attention is structured. Short videos are designed to capture and reset attention every few seconds. Each clip is optimized to deliver immediate stimulation, visual, emotional, or informational, before quickly moving on to the next. For many people, this creates a rewarding loop. But for individuals who prefer longer, more continuous forms of engagement, this rapid switching disrupts cognitive flow. Their mind is not seeking constant novelty, it is seeking depth. And depth requires time, continuity, and sustained focus. This creates a fundamental mismatch. While short videos operate on fragmentation, these individuals operate on immersion. They are more comfortable following a single thread of thought over an extended period. Instead of jumping between stimuli, they prefer to stay within one context long enough to fully process it. This is why short-form content can feel unsatisfying. It provides stimulation, but not resolution. It triggers attention, but doesn't sustain it. There is also a strong connection to how meaning is constructed. People who are less interested in short videos tend to value coherence. They prefer information that builds, connects, and evolves. A quick clip may deliver a moment of interest, but it often lacks the structure needed to create lasting understanding. For these individuals, meaning is not found in isolated moments, it is formed through progression. Without that progression, the content feels incomplete. Another important factor is cognitive control. Short videos are designed to reduce decision-making. The next piece of content appears automatically, requiring no effort to continue. This creates a passive consumption pattern where attention is guided externally rather than internally. People who resist this format often have a stronger preference for intentional engagement. They want to choose what they focus on, not be carried from one stimulus to another. The automatic nature of short-form content can feel like a loss of control over their own attention. Emotionally, this preference is also significant. Short videos often rely on quick emotional shifts, humor, surprise, curiosity, or even mild shock. These rapid changes can be stimulating, but they can also feel overwhelming for individuals who process emotions more deeply. Instead of experiencing each emotional cue fully, the mind is pushed to move on before it has time to settle. Over time, this creates a sense of emotional fragmentation. For people who value emotional clarity, this can feel uncomfortable rather than entertaining. There is also a link between this behavior and introspection. Individuals who prefer deeper forms of engagement often spend more time reflecting on what they consume. They don't just watch or read, they process. This requires mental space. Short videos, by design, reduce that space. They fill attention continuously, leaving little room for reflection. For someone who relies on that reflection to make sense of information, the format becomes limiting. Another key aspect is delayed gratification. Short-form content is built around immediate reward. Each video delivers a quick payoff, reinforcing continued consumption. People who are less drawn to this pattern often have a higher tolerance for slower rewards. They are comfortable engaging with content that takes time to develop. This preference shapes how they interact with media. Instead of seeking constant stimulation, they seek sustained engagement. This difference is subtle, but it has a significant impact on attention habits. Interestingly, this behavior is also connected to sensitivity to overstimulation. The rapid pace, constant movement, and frequent changes in short videos can create a high level of sensory input. For some individuals, this is energizing. For others, it becomes draining. They may not consciously identify it as overstimulation, but they feel a subtle fatigue or restlessness after consuming this type of content. As a result, they naturally limit their exposure to it. There is also a deeper psychological layer related to autonomy. People who avoid short videos often prefer to structure their own mental environment. They choose when to engage, how long to stay, and when to stop. The infinite scroll design of short-form platforms works against this preference. It removes natural stopping points, making it easier to continue without intention. For individuals who value control over their attention, this can feel intrusive. This does not mean they reject all forms of digital content. It means they engage with it differently. They are more likely to choose longer videos, articles, or books, formats that allow for continuity and depth. These formats align with their cognitive style, supporting sustained attention rather than fragmenting it. The difference is not in how much they consume, but in how they prefer to consume it. Social perception often misinterprets this behavior. In a culture that increasingly values speed and adaptability, not engaging with short-form content can be seen as a limitation. But in many cases, it reflects a different strength, the ability to resist distraction. These individuals are less influenced by rapid shifts in attention and more anchored in their own focus. This can lead to greater clarity, but it can also create a sense of disconnect from mainstream behavior. There is also a long-term implication for how the mind functions. Consistent exposure to short-form content trains the brain to expect frequent stimulation. Attention becomes shorter, and tolerance for slower content decreases. Individuals who avoid this pattern often maintain a different baseline. Their attention span remains more stable, allowing them to engage with complex ideas more effectively. This is not necessarily intentional. It is a byproduct of their preference. However, like any pattern, this behavior can have its own limitations. Avoiding short-form content entirely may reduce exposure to certain types of information or cultural trends. It can create a gap between their experience and that of others. The key difference, again, lies in intention. When the choice is deliberate, it becomes a form of self-regulation. When it is rigid, it can become a form of resistance. Ultimately, people who do not like watching short videos are not simply rejecting a format. They are responding to how that format interacts with their cognitive and emotional systems. Their behavior reflects a preference for depth over speed, continuity over fragmentation, and control over passive consumption. And once you understand that, their lack of interest stops looking like disconnection. It starts looking like selectivity. Because not all attention is meant to be divided. And for them, what matters is not how much they consume, but how deeply they engage with it.